remembers Malcolm in the Middle? The show ran from 2000 to 2006 and starred Frankie Muniz as a young genius named Malcolm. It wasn't really my kind of show back in the day, but I've seen bits and pieces of it, and it seems to be remembered pretty fondly. Its star, Frankie Muniz, does seem to be one of the most popular child stars from the time period as well. I have seen some other films starring Muniz, such as My Dog Skip and the subject of this video, Agent Cody Banks. I remember My Dog Skip being decent, if not somewhat sappy, but I haven't seen the film in a long time, so there you go. Agent Cody Banks, on the other hand, yeah, I'm choosing to review this film for a reason. From what I remember, it seems like an odd parody of James Bond, and it also stars another popular teen star from the 2000s, Hilary Duff. By the way, this film was released in the same year as the Lizzie McGuire movie. There's a blast from the past, right guys? Strangely enough, the film actually generated some controversy around the time of its release, that I'll discuss more later, but I thought that I'd just warn you guys all about it now. I don't remember Agent Cody Banks having particularly good acting, or good effects, or good melodrama, but I remember the quirky 2000s plot being at least somewhat memorable. It basically encapsulates weird 2000s teen movies in a nutshell. But is this movie just another tone-deaf hunk of Y2K garbage? Let's find out. Without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
The movie begins with an introduction to our 15-year-old protagonist Cody and his family. The family dynamic is pretty standard: Mum, Dad, Cody, and his little brother Alex. We also get a pretty weird line from this kid about dating, which sets the tone for this movie pretty well.
Sitting in a treehouse isn't exactly a date.
It is when you're playing doctor.
What did he say?
Yeah, the 2000s were a different time and not necessarily a better time in some respects. Seriously though, being 15 sucks, so I do kind of feel bad for Cody. As Cody is skateboarding to school, a mother goes to run some errands and leaves her kid in the car. The kid isn't exactly a baby, so it could be worse, but we're about to find out why this isn't a good idea. Given that this is a Disney Channel-esque movie, I don't expect anything too dramatic, but let this be a lesson in responsible parenting. I have heard of this scenario happening in real life, so it's not too ridiculous. Good on you, movie, for having some semblance of realism, despite this premise. Cody goes after the kid, risking his own life in the process, but manages to turn the car's handbrake off before it collides with an oncoming train. This sequence is very cheesy, but it's a very good way to show that Cody possesses great courage and cares about protecting people, which does make him more likable. He doesn't even try to seek recognition for his heroism, he simply does what needs to be done. After this great display, we cut to this movie's villains. Nice immediate contrast between good and evil there. What's not so nice is the brown face used for our main antagonist, Dr. Brinkman, played by English actor Ian McShane. Yikes. Brinkman is the head of a nefarious organisation, Eris, wonder what that's referring to, who has hired this nerdy American scientist, Dr. Albert Connors, played by Martin Donovan. Connors has invented some nanobots under the pretense of mitigating minor environmental disasters. I'm sure they really mean that, right? Meanwhile, at the CIA HQ, the director tells the board about the plot of the film. Essentially, Connors cut himself off from the rest of the world when he became a widower, although he does have a teenage daughter named Natalie, through whom one could reach him. Psst, that's Hilary Duff. The CIA director is played by Keith David, who I know from movies like The Thing and They Live. He even voiced Dr. Facilier in The Princess and the Frog and the cat in Coraline. To make a long story short, the CIA opened up a recruitment program for teenagers, disguised as your average summer camp. But really, who would have thought? I mean, it's ridiculous. That doesn't sound like something they do at all. Preposterous notion. Naturally, Cody is selected for this mission as he seems like a good fit to get close to Natalie.
Are you in special ed?
Whoa, now this movie's getting too close to home. No, but this does make me feel a little bad for Cody. Kids can be really mean. It does seem like he'll need some extra training to get over his social anxiety though. And yeah, this is the scene that the studio got in trouble for. Some of Cody's schoolmates tease him about this exchange in the locker room later that day, but their taunts are interrupted by Cody's CIA handler. This is Ronica Miles, played by Angie Harmon, who will be supervising Cody on his mission. The song Hot in Here by Nelly plays while she enters, and although I can't play the audio for copyright reasons, I just want to emphasize how out of pocket this scene is. Shocked that she's arrived to pick up Cody, the other boys try to hit on Ronica, and she responds by assaulting them with their towels. I get that this was 2003 and all, but I find this whole debacle really inappropriate. She's a government operative, but how is it that she can just walk in? They're being rude, but they're just teenagers and she's the adult in the room. This is a kids' movie after all. The CIA briefs Cody on his mission. He needs to get close to Natalie, and for that, he has to get an invite to her upcoming birthday party. They give him some gadgets to aid him in his task: X-ray sunglasses, a Star Trek-style communication device disguised as a 2000s mobile phone, a mysterious watch, a high-tech skateboard, and $5,000 cash. Just the standard affair then. Before he can begin his mission, Cody must enroll in the same prestigious prep school as Natalie, forcing him to concoct a convincing excuse for his sudden mid-year transfer.
And why would they want you?
Diversity.
That was actually pretty funny. Ronica arrives just in time in order to persuade Cody's parents too, because why not, I guess. Cody falls for Natalie at first sight, only to encounter some bullies who steal his watch. In response, he has this vivid fantasy sequence where he imagines beating this little prick up. This is getting sad now, poor Cody. Can't this kid catch a break?
Snap back to reality.
Instead, Cody tells the bully not to touch the silver button on his watch if he wants to take it. And well, yeah, you know what bullies are like. I guess that'll teach him not to pick on the new kid, huh? Natalie witnesses this exchange and is shocked by it, pun intended. In order to relieve the tension between them, Cody awkwardly tries to talk to her about one of her interests, the poet and playwright T.S. Eliot.
The way she captures the female perspective, it's just so female-like. It's great.
T.S. Eliot is a man.
That he was, Cody, you can't screw up like that. He goes one further and rambles nonsense about horses, which is so cringeworthy. Typical teenager not doing their homework. The internet existed by this point, there's no excuse. Natalie snubs Cody and calls him a freak. Ouch. To be honest, it's a really bad first impression, but he just met this girl and was clearly just trying to be friendly. Weird, yes, but still, I can't help but feel bad for the kid. To make up for Cody's rocky start with Natalie, the CIA decides to take drastic measures to help him focus on the mission. They send in specialist teams to tackle his chores and schoolwork while his family is away, which is pretty absurd, but I suppose they could be thinking about the bigger picture. Can you believe that no one suspects a thing when they return home, surrounded by vans and agents running around? Don't they notice anything out of the ordinary? It's a good thing that Cody is born to the world's most absent-minded parents, or he'd never get away with doing this undercover. Now that his obligations are taken care of, Ronica pressures Cody to phone Natalie. But, of course, he freezes up again and hangs up. Poor kid. When this issue is brought up to the director, he doesn't take it well, especially since Cody had bragged about his success with women while at camp.
Somebody has got to teach this kid how to talk to a girl!
A group of nerds from various areas of expertise try to educate Cody on romance, and I really don't think these are the right people to be asking, nor is it helping. The Q guy from earlier has one last resort and presents Cody with some kind of holographic digital girlfriend?
Oh Lord.
I'm free tonight. What shall we do?
What is happening in this movie? Thankfully, this is cut short when Cody just stutters. Let's keep this PG, okay guys? In a rather nice twist, Cody starts to win Natalie over in a naturally Cody way. When Natalie tries to hang a banner on the school's front entrance, she tumbles off the ladder, but Cody thinks fast and catches her just in time. Given Cody's antics at the start of the film, this small victory feels like a natural progression of his character development, and it also grants him an invitation to Natalie's party. At the party, Ronica lets Cody use her sports car, and not gonna lie, the whole event is ridiculous. I get that Natalie is rich and all, but it looks really boring and awkward, and full of people that Natalie probably doesn't even know. Cody gives Natalie a tracking device disguised as a turquoise necklace, which while seemingly really creepy, will be useful later on. The ends justify the means, I suppose. While navigating the party, Cody meets Brinkman's second-in-command, Francois Mallet, portrayed by Arnold Vosloo, who is probably most well known for his role as Imhotep in The Mummy. He's dressed like a chav, but I don't know if that's some sort of disguise or what. Francois disappears into the background with Natalie's father, so Cody follows them to an underground laboratory going full espionage in order to do so. We learn that the nanobots require freezing cold temperatures to control them, and so Dr. Connors has been keeping them in ice cubes to stop them from destroying everything in sight. This suggests that Connors goes about his work rather naively. Even if Eris did have good intentions, that doesn't mean that another villainous entity couldn't want to obtain the robots for evil purposes. Oh well, I'm sure that won't happen. Cody is able to record the group along with the nanobots' activity from above, and Brinkman blankly says to Connors that he will use them against the American military.
Oh, who could have seen this coming?
Subtlety, anyone? No? Has Brinkman ever heard of biding his time? However, he is smart and evil enough to use Natalie as leverage against Connors. The handlers order Cody to get a sample, but it eats through his shoe, with him only managing to escape the lab in the nick of time. Just as Cody attempts to leave the party, he's confronted by those pesky school bullies once again, but this time, instead of backing down, he stands his ground and delivers some blows. This impresses Natalie but raises red flags for Brinkman and Francois. They now know that the CIA is still tracking them. This display unfortunately also makes people grow suspicious of Cody, with an article about him making the front page of the school newspaper. This is enough to make the CIA drop Cody for both their sake and his.
I subscribe to a few spy magazines and surf the net for some cool sites. The next thing I know, I'm going to a CIA summer camp. I was 13.
That's actually really messed up when you think about it. He was too young to be able to make important life decisions like that, and it's not like he can even confide in his family about any of this. On a date, Natalie is kidnapped by Eris, and Cody is subdued by their henchmen. The CIA eventually rescues him, but rather than providing any real support or closure, they simply drop him back off at home and tell him to go back to being a kid. Watching this scene now, I'm struck by the unfairness of it all. It's appalling to think that after putting him through such a traumatic experience, the CIA expects him to just snap his fingers and return to his normal carefree existence. It's a very dark idea for this kind of movie. Thanks to Alex going through his stuff that evening, Cody remembers the tracking device that he put on Natalie, and how it's still attached to his superphone. So, they're not gonna take all that special tech off him? Kinda irresponsible. With more of Alex's help, Cody evades his parents and breaks into the CIA HQ, stealing their equipment to go and find Natalie on his own. He ends up crashing into a tree while heading to Eris's base, but Ronica shows up to help him. Man, these effects are dodgy. Cody is able to break into Natalie's cell, but Brinkman and Francois are able to spot him on a security camera. He explains that while he does work for the CIA, his feelings are genuine and he got in trouble for becoming too emotionally attached to her. Sweet and all, but haven't they known each other for like a month at most? Natalie and Ronica are apprehended by the most multicultural group of henchmen ever depicted on film, but Cody manages to scarper away. Brinkman forces Connors to program a remote that controls the nanobots by threat of putting an ice cube on Natalie's forehead. Surprise, surprise! Just then, Cody is able to save the day. He presses a remote which causes a self-destruct sequence to begin and the base starts catching fire. Why is it that every evil villain's lair seems to have one of those, just in case the authorities show up? Amongst all the chaos, Natalie shoves an ice cube in Brinkman's mouth, and he swallows it. The nanobots eat him from the inside out, in a simultaneously terrible and terrifying CGI effect. The fact that it's so bad adds to the creepiness. I mean, what the hell, way to give all the kids that watch this nightmares. The rest of the ice cubes melt in the fire, slowly destroying the rest of the base, and Cody gets a genius idea to open the base doors by throwing the ice cubes at them. Just as Cody is about to escape, we get a bloody jump scare from Imhotep, but Cody is able to strap him into that flying thing that Ronica arrived on and send him to the CIA headquarters. Pretty fitting, the guy will just go to San Quentin now or something. In a nutshell, Cody makes it back home, and is officially reinstated as a junior CIA agent, even getting congratulated by the director personally. The movie ends with him going on a date with Natalie, and ignoring a call from Ronica. It's all well that ends well. Where to start? This movie is quite a lot to take in, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it while writing this review. Let's start with the elephant in the room. A lot of the tropes in this film have shown their age, with some being downright offensive. It's not like the villains attempt to put on some kind of uncomfortable accent, but we're all looking at the same footage, and we all know when this movie was released. It's especially weird to me that this kind of thing would be in a film aimed at children and young teens. If this was released 60 years ago, it still wouldn't be okay, but at least I could say people were more ignorant then. I made a point of a similar issue in my last review, but Agent Cody Banks is also strangely off-colour in its humour and tone. One example that I brought up before is the locker room scene. This is an attempt where the humour fell flat for me, relying on innuendos that may have seemed edgy in 2003, but now feel like a misfire. Part of me wonders if studio executives have lost touch with what it's like to be a kid. Scenes like this feel like they're trying to push boundaries that wouldn't fly today. While the film isn't egregious overall, its awkward attempts at humour can be distracting and take away from otherwise enjoyable action sequences. The British Board of Film Classification rates it a 12, and the Motion Picture Association of America rates it a PG. Apparently there's also an uncut version rated a 15 in the UK. To be honest, I don't remember which cut of the film I watched as a kid, but I did find some parts scary or uncomfortable. On that note, there's that throwaway line that was used twice in the film, once with a girl in Cody's class, and again with Natalie.
Are you in special ed?
According to an article by Variety from around the film's release, Line re-released DVDs of the film with an apology message at the beginning. Regarding the references to special ed in the movie, we in no way meant to be insensitive to kids with special education needs. Rather, it was meant to show how cruel kids can be to one another. As you have seen, Cody overcomes his own speech problems and saves the day. Thank you to those who brought this to our attention. We will be mindful of it in the sequel. I can definitely see how there are two sides to interpreting the bit. It's played in a somewhat light-hearted way, and Cody is the butt of the joke. However, it did make me sympathise with and want to root for him more. His vulnerability and embarrassment humanise him, and he does seem like some awkward kid here. It seems like the writers weren't sure what they were going for themselves in this respect, but it's good that they addressed it. The effects aren't really anything special, they're your typical bad early 2000s run-amok fare. At some points they look decent, at others pretty shoddy and unconvincing. Fun fact, Madonna, the Queen of Pop, had a surprising connection to Agent Cody Banks. She was an executive producer on this film. I know, crazy. It's a small world. While doing research for this review, I found out something rather tragic about the film's star, Frankie Muniz. According to an article by Entertainment Weekly, Muniz has suffered from 9 concussions and 15 mini-strokes, resulting in significant memory loss. He does not remember the years 2000 to 2006 very well, but he seems to have a pretty positive outlook on the bright side. It doesn't stop me from being anywhere I want to be. I've been so lucky and fortunate in my life to be able to do all the things I've gotten to do. I've literally had 3 dream jobs and I'm still continuing. Well, it's good that both he and his character in this film got a nice resolve to their stories. I'm sure that nothing could possibly change this course. Oh god, here we go. Well, if you guys want me to review this, I'm up for it. Do I think that Agent Cody Banks is the worst movie ever? No, I don't. However, while I have a soft spot for it, this movie has some significant flaws that are hard to ignore. Despite its nostalgic charm, it can come across as tone-deaf due to inappropriate humour and unusually insensitive character choices. It's not a perfect film, but it is a reminder of the past for me, whether for better or for worse. As I look back on it now, I'm left wondering what could have been if the filmmakers had approached my qualms with more sensitivity and awareness. Overall, while there are definitely worse films out there, I believe this hasn't aged well due to its obliviousness. Watching it now, I'm struck by how underwhelming and disappointing it is, even though I initially enjoyed it during my childhood. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause polos is life, 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 polos is life. Sleep all night